Hello everyone, this is Scapegoat Stephen back with another video battle report. So I've got two reports currently queued in my editing log that took place at Dice and Destiny, which is a great little shop in Canterbury in Kent in the UK. If you have sort of visited the area before, go check them out. So once every quarter they do a Guild Ball tournament. So the last one was a 16-player event. As you can see on the screen, there's the guild breakdown there. So originally I was planning on potentially playing Masons. Then I sort of flopped to Farmers, as I'm wont to do. I change guild quite often. This event took place on Sunday, the 2nd of December, and the Navigators Guild came out on the Friday just before, as in physically arrived. My pre-order arrived at the store. So, because I'm terrible at sticking to a single guild, I was like, you know what? I've had no games ever with Navigators. Let's whack in for a tournament, see what happens, just enjoy the day. So the videos I've got are of my second and fourth games. So this is obviously the second game of the day. My first game was against Shark Fisherman. I lost 12-4. I think I made a few tactical errors during the game, but overall really enjoyable. It was over really quick, as you'd expect from Fish versus Navigators. So what we'll do is we'll go into round 2. So as you can see, round 2 is Scalpel Morticians versus Windfinder Navigators. So deployment, going down the Morticians side from the top of the screen, we've got Dirge, Cosset, Veteran Hemlock, Graves 1, Scalpel, who's doing the actual kickoff with the ball, and Gast closest to the camera. Coming down the Navigator's side, you've got Fathom, Angel, Azimuth, Wander, Windfinder, and Horizon. So I think I won the roll-off here and actually elected to be kicked into. I know Scalpel has a long sort of jog threat, especially with sort of Hemlock being there, but I felt that this was sort of the best option to give me the control of the ball. So this was a game actually against Rob, who is someone I've known for quite some time. We used to travel in the same sort of War Machine circles. We never actually played each other before, so it'd be quite interesting to have actually finally played against him. So the kickoff is accurate. Didn't like the initial scatter, so re-rolled it, but it ended up being pretty much the same sort of thing. So as you can see, we've both pretty much fully loaded our captains. And I'm going to start with Windfinder. So Windfinder is going to put full speed on Azimuth, snap the ball as she goes, passes the ball to Azimuth, and puts an I Spy out on Scalpel. Now that's mostly to give Scalpel something to think about, needing to spend to stand up with that one momentum that Rob has got from the kickoff. So Hemlock's then going to Midnight Offering Cosset, and Dirge is going to follow. I then decide to sprint and dodge Horizon, just to sort of threaten, come on, take me out, give me a good snapshot turret, that sort of thing. Graves will tool up Cosset, Wander goes for a bit of a jog. And then Gast's going to come forward, manages to jog, hit Horizon, and then we'll knock him down. Now my point here with Horizon was to give him up early, to be able to set him up for later in the game. I'm not quite sure on my use of Horizon during this game, as you'll see. And actually, I'm not so sure about him, having only played a few games with Navigators. So Angel will nimble and sprint. And then Rob has a difficult decision to make. Who does he go into? So obviously Angel's in cover and defense 6 at the moment. So actually he checks out his Cosset in charge range of Windfinder, and she is. So Cosset charges Windfinder and I declare a counterattack. He does a Momentous 3. I counterattack single dodge, which doesn't get me far enough away. He then does another Momentous 3, clears conditions on Scalpel, and then finally does a non-Momentous 1. So actually he's already put 7 damage into Windfinder, which obviously I'm not a huge fan of. So I'm looking at, what does Azimuth do here? He's got the free charge, he's got the further charge. So he's going to pass to Fathom and then charge Cosset. He's going to wrap, thanks to all these re-rolls. He's going to do a non-momentous knockdown on Cosset, and a momentous netted and a dodge on Scalpel. And then he's going to do a momentous 3 and then a momentous 2 to Cosset. So Cosset is on the floor, Scalpel is on the floor. I've done 6 damage, 5 damage to Cosset, and she's in the middle of a couple of my players now. So overall, I actually think that Azimuth's damage output is surprisingly high, especially given that they're a minor guild for fish. But I think a lot of people have talked about this, how it's a very damage-dealing guild as well as goal-scoring guild. So it's quite an interesting, in my first few games, seeing how much they can kick out. So Scalpel's going to stand up, jog to Windfinder, and start buying attacks. So Rob manages to get off a non-momentous 1, followed by a non-momentous 1, followed by a momentous 2, followed by a non-momentous 1, followed by a momentous 2, and actually at the end of all this he manages to take Windfinder out. So he ends up with actually a spare bit of influence, so he ends up attacking Horizon, and because Horizon is basically a 3-0, a 2-0 actually, because at the moment, because Horizon is knocked down, he'll just flat out do a momentous 3 to Horizon. So actually that puts Rob on 2 points, so Rob is currently in the lead 0-2. And as you can see, a little bit of repositioning there with second wind. So I decide that Fathom will pass to Angel, and then just go for a little bit of jog. Mostly because I just needed to generate the momentum for when it came to like the second turn momentum race. So at the moment I've got 5, and I think Rob's got 3 or 4. So turn 2, I play the card that gives me the +1 attack, so I put that on Angel, and Rob plays the card that means it costs me more momentum to take a shot on goal if I'm the closest model. So I'm currently looking at what do I want to do here. Do I actually want to go for a goal straight away? And as you see at the top of the screen, I brought Windfinder on in that fast ground. So looking obviously as well at like Graves' threat range and melee range, and the same for mine. Do I actually want to go in, score this goal early, and then leave myself up as a snapshot turret for the rest of the turn? Which in the end I actually decide, you know what, this actually seems like the best option. I have no momentum at the moment and I need some. So Angel nimbles herself up to defence 6, and then she charges Graves to defensive stance. So I'm looking obviously here for some sort of, I need to disengage from Graves, I need to get myself a point of momentum. So I manage on the charge momentously to get the push dodge, which is obviously then 3 of my influence, and then I decide to take the shot with Angel, and I do score it. So actually that puts the score to 4-2 in the Navigators' favour. And Rob decides just to kick out really short so that the ball ends up on Hemlock. Graves then is trying to like weigh up his options. He's got a lot of different targets that he could go for at the moment. Graves one himself has actually got a reasonable damage output. So in the end, Rob looks at who have I got on my team that's the combination of easiest to hit and lowest health pool. Obviously Horizon's only worth the 1 VP, so he decides to go back after Windfinder. So he charges Windfinder, who defensive stances up to defence 6, and manages to do 1 damage, and then obviously his bleed effect. Then he manages to do another 1 damage on another attack. So then I look at who do I want to activate next. Obviously we've got this thing going on in the middle with Scalpel. I'm not sure I want to go too close to her with some of my players, so then I go with Windfinder, who jogs round Graves to the edge of his melee, to edge of her melee, hits him, does a momentous 2, decides to then attack again and misses. Oh sorry, that might be the counter attack from Graves. I do a legendary, hit Windfinder and Fathom, because obviously Dirge and Graves are within the range. So there are the dodges. I then heal myself by 4, and I decide, you know what, I'm in range to I Spy. I'm gonna just buy an I Spy on Cosset, and that obviously sets her up, knocked down. She hasn't got the best. She has got no armour, so she hasn't got a great set of defensive stats when she's on the floor. So now obviously there's a badly, well not badly injured Windfinder, because obviously she's healed herself up by 4, but she has got the bleed condition on her. So it was a difficult choice whether or not I clear the bleed or I take the healing, but I decided to take the healing because it's worth that one extra point, which actually was really worth it. So Scalpel now charges Windfinder here and rolls abysmally. Rob manages like a single 5, I think, on the charge, which given on defence 5, is unfortunate. So he does one non-momentous damage, and then his rolls are just terrible here. So he does another one non-momentous damage, another one non-momentous damage, a spirit bomb to move some of my other players around, and then a momentous 2, which actually I believe leaves that might leave Windfinder on a single HP, which at this stage obviously I'm a little bit worried. And actually that could have been really good at that stage for Rob to get those extra 2 points, bring us to 4-4, but sadly it doesn't happen. So I activate Horizon, he stands and then dodges his 5 just to get another gang up onto Cosset. Gas then activates, follows him and knocks him back down. So I can't really get a charge off with Azimuth because Fathom is in the way, but in the end I decide I'll go for a bit of a jog. I manage to wrap on Cosset because she's knocked down, and I do a 1 damage on the wrap and a momentous disarm on, a momentous netted on Cosset to knock her down again. Maybe she must have stood up at some point. Scalpel probably stood her up. I then do another attack and I wrap, get a netted on Gast. I choose to stand Horizon up. So I do 1 damage on Cosset, momentous netted on Gast. Stand Horizon up, I do 1 damage on the wrap and a momentous disarm on Cosset. So Cosset then sort of is looking for some targets really, so she decides to actually shake the knockdown by just standing. And she makes an attack on Horizon, but because she's obviously got disarm and at this stage a couple of crowd outs, it's going to be a bit more difficult for her to do anything, so she does nothing. Wanda jogs base to base with Horizon. Dirge goes for a little bit of a flap. Fathom charges Cosset, does two momentous dodges. Double momentous dodge and 1 damage. Then Hemlock goes for a bit of a jog around that barrier up the top of the screen and passes to Graves just to try and get Graves out of the way, then spends that momentum to dodge 4 into that fast ground, looking potentially for a goal in the next turn and to keep away from Windfinder, I think. So apologies here, I didn't quite catch which card that I played when looking back at the video, but I know that Rob, for his Morticians, played the Grudge Match card, so we ended up putting the Grudge Match tokens on Cosset and Fathom respectively. So obviously I'm looking here I want to go first because I just want to clear Cosset out of the pitch, maybe do a little bit to Gast, you know, not sure, blocked myself in a little bit with all those players around Cosset, and I don't really want to be hitting Gast because he's just going to take too much to kill. You know, between Fear, between his actually surprisingly high health pool, it's going to take more than I really want to be looking at. At this stage, Rob's looking at allocating how close can he get to that goal. So Azimuth is going to attack Cosset, and again we've got all these re-rolls, all this, you know, he's knocked down, got multiple friends, got Grudge Match, so we've got a momentous 3 and a momentous 2, which then takes Cosset out. So that takes the Navigators up to 6-2. So we're currently leading by 4 points. So I decide to heal Windfinder by 4 because obviously she's taken that bleed. In fact, that bleed took her down to 1 HP, I remember now. So Windfinder's now back up to 5. We then decide to attack Gast, and we get a momentous disarm dodge because obviously Gast is already knocked down, but it costs that 2 influence to attack because of fear. So Rob here is trying to decide, does he go towards the goal with Graves, or does Graves come back in, looking at Windfinder being on quite low health? And in the end, he decides to go with literally just dropping the ball with Graves and charging Windfinder. So I defensive stance and counter-attack, he gets no hits, and I manage to dodge on the counter-attack just to pull myself out of engagement range. So Windfinder will activate, she will heal by 4. It's worth noting here actually, I quite poorly used my spy in these first few games. I was always hard buying it rather than buying attacks and getting it off the re-rolls. But I do manage to get the I Spy off on Scalpel, and then I just jog away into cover round the corner here. Forgetting, of course, that Cosset's going to be coming back on next turn, and she's going to be mad. So Gast stands up, and he's the only one in melee range with Azimuth. He's got no crowd outs, so he's just going to wail on Azimuth. And he knocks me down, then does a momentous 3 and a momentous 3. So I'm currently looking, can Fathom get to the ball? She's got a lot of movement between her heroic and just fast sprint and buying dodges, and in the end look at it and decide, you know what, it's not going to happen. So in the end I decide, you know, Fathom will charge Scalpel. Scalpel's knocked down, I've got I Spy, might as well get a bit of damage, and so Scalpel does defensive stance. I managed to do 3 non-momentous damage on the charge, followed by a momentous dodge, followed by a momentous double dodge. I decide to move away, but then with the final bits end up moving sort of back in. After the at the end, I think I heroicked actually to move back in, so I decided I wanted the gang ups more rather than sitting there. So in the end, I go linked back to Angel. Decided I don't need that snapshot turret there, because you know what, Windfinder's there. If I need a snapshot turret, I'm probably not going to need it this turn, but you know, Windfinder is there. Windfinder will do the job good enough. So I link to Angel again because I want to just get some more damage in on Scalpel while I've got the opportunity. I nimble with her, just again so she can survive any potential attacking later in the turn. Go for a jog, attack Scalpel. With the first attack I do 2 damage, and the second attack we do 3 damage because we do 2 damage and wrap to the 1. So Scalpel's going to stand up, or sorry, going to clear knockdown, and he's going to charge Azimuth, which I thought was quite a risky attack, option by Rob. But you know what? I've got no knockdowns on Fathom or Angel, so fair enough. So we get 2 parting blows. We do 3 damage total from Fathom and only 1 damage from Angel. So, you know, again, we're doing a little bit more damage. That's 4 damage to each, so he can't heal this turn anyway because he's just cleared knockdown unless someone else heals him. So he manages to do 4 damage to Azimuth, and then he starts moving his own models around. So he pushes Dirge towards the ball. He then does a momentous 3 damage and a Spirit Bomb off his playbook, which actually manages to take Azimuth out. So in the end, that takes us to the 6-4, and then he does a momentous 2 damage on Horizon, then 1 damage, and takes Horizon out as well. So we end up on a 6-5, so it's quite close at the moment, and then he'll second wind away once all of his movement and shenanigans have happened. Wander. Oh, sorry, no, this is the second wind activation that pulls him towards that cover. So I activate Wander. Wander will go for a jog. Rob activates Dirge. Dirge goes for a jog. And then, because I've run out of players, because obviously he managed to take out Horizon and Azimuth, he's going to use Vet Hemlock, finally, who will just go for a jog round the corner in the cover. So, it's now moving into turn 4. So in turn 4, I will bring some models on. I actually play fullback as my option, so it gives me one personal charge for cheaper, because I've got Horizon and Azimuth coming on. And I believe Rob plays Lone Striker here to try and seize the initiative, which he does actually. So as you can see, I've got Azimuth on the top in the fast ground, and Horizon comes on just below him, again to threaten that ball, because Dirge can get far, but I don't think he can get far enough. I don't want to bring Horizon on near Cosset, to be perfectly honest. So he's obviously looking at Dirge. Dirge can score. Dirge has got a 2-4 kick, I believe. So Dirge, if he can get to the ball, but obviously needs momentum at this stage. So Rob decides to activate Hemlock first, goes for a bit of a jog, takes a parting blow from Fathom, just takes the single point of damage. And Midnight Offerings Dirge, just to get Dirge, you know what, get out of dodge, get out of there. Horizon can still reach. Horizon has got the threat with his dodge to still get there. So looking at it, I debate, do I send Horizon in? In the end, I decide, you know what, there's a couple of his players ganked up close to each other. I reckon Azimuth can do a good number on some of them. So Azimuth will charge Graves for 1 due to fullback. It'll do a momentous netted on Hemlock with the dodge, and then the same again to Graves. Got no knockdowns on this due to the rerolls, and then we'll do a momentous 2 damage on Graves, heal himself by 4, and then spend 2 just to heal Windfinder, because Windfinder's just in line of sight and just in range. So overall, that again puts Windfinder back to a nice healthy amount, given Cosset's right there. Keeps Azimuth on a reasonable amount. I've knocked down 2 of his models. You know, really close, actually in between a lot of my models. So at this stage, I'm looking at how do I then potentially engineer a couple of takeouts there. Obviously, he's got the ball, so I'm considering snapback goals here. At the moment as well, Rob's considering, well, how do we how does he score some takeout points as well? Obviously, he's still got Scalpel, so he's looking at the moment. If he drops spirit bombs in various places, does it potentially engineer takeouts? Does it cause some damage? How does he? He can't charge obviously because there's a cover in the way. So at the moment we're looking at, can he sprint, and where can he sprint Scalpel to then be able to effectively engineer a spirit bomb towards Horizon as well. So in the end, he decides to sprint, and I poised with Azimuth. He manages a momentous dodge off his first attack, and I do a double push on my counter attack to get him out of melee with me. So I think actually Rob a little bit kicking himself there, because I think that actually caused a bit of trouble, because it meant actually that there wasn't really a lot of stuff left on Scalpel. So in the end he decides to Spirit Bomb Horizon and rolls a double one, so unfortunately misses, and then second wins himself away. So Horizon uses free 5-inch dodge to dodge the fast ground, and then will charge Graves. So I manage a momentous unexpected arrival, ta-da, and 1 damage. So I keep Graves close to me, but I push Hemlock away so that there's sort of a gap leading down towards my goal, and again there's a couple of players engaging Hemlock then. Also managed to do 1 damage on an attack and a momentous push dodge on a follow-up attack. So Graves stands up and hits Azimuth. I declare a counter attack. The attacks miss. Again, I think Rob's just really unfortunate, and I counter attack knockdown. Wanda goes for a jog to take to incite a parting blow from Gast, and Gast just knocks him down because I forgot how low Gast's knockdown is. Gast then just goes for a little jog to go engage Fathom and Windfinder. So Windfinder spends 3. Again, it's this foolish mistake of mine of hard casting stuff to I Spy, which knocks down Gast. Jogs into Gast, buys an attack, and because I've got a gang up, manages to get a momentous 2 and a momentous dodge due to some wrapping, and again just generates me some momentum. So Dirge goes for the goal, goes for a jog, shoots, scores. We're now up to 6-9 in favour of the Morticians. So Angel sort of eyes up. We've got a knockdown Gast here, and I've got a knocked down Graves over there, and you know what, the ball is right between us. Look, there's 3 knockdown Morticians. Most of our guild are stood around. If I go somewhere, can I snap the ball? You know what, yes, I'm going to charge Graves and I'll snap the ball on the way just to set up for next turn. So she does 3 damage because she manages to wrap. So 2 at the end, 1 at the start column. And then Cosset comes in, charging Windfinder. I defensive stance and counter attack. Cosset does 2 momentous damage, and my counter attack actually does 2 damage. And again, Cosset's got quite a low health pool at this stage, having already been taken out. Fathom charges Graves, because again, no one's close enough that isn't already knocked down. So she goes into Graves and actually manages to do quite well. Again, all these crowd outs, all these re-rolls. She actually wraps, I think, 3 times. So I get a 2, a 2 and a 1. So he does 5 damage to Graves, who is knocked down, surrounded by 4 of my players. So we're into turn 5. Graves at this stage is knocked down on 1 HP, surrounded by, as I said, 4 of my players. I've got possession of the ball. You know, it's currently, what, 6-10? Because of Dirge's goal. So at this stage, all I've got to do is kill Graves, go score a goal. And Angel, in theory, can do all of that on her own. However, I lose initiative because it comes to a roll-off situation. So Rob goes first. He activates Scalpel, who jogs. Decides, you know what, I probably need to try and kill. If I can kill Horizon and Azimuth, that takes me from the 9 points up to the 12 for the win. So he goes in, does a momentous 3 to Horizon, Spirit Bombs both Horizon and Azimuth, then does a momentous 2 and a 2 damage dodge. And actually, as all this pushing around, ends up managing to pull Angel and herself closer. So manages actually then to tackle Angel. She's taken Horizon out, so puts it to 6-10 in the Mortician's favour, and tackles the ball and second wins away because my counter attack with Angel fails to do anything. So Fathom activates, she'll sprint because she can't get a straight line. She will attack Scalpel, tackle the ball, pass the ball to Angel, then do 1 damage on Scalpel. I then link to Angel, and I totally, utterly forget to kill Graves at this stage. So stupid. Idiot. So I sprint, super shot, and score. And here was me thinking, I've won. And because I've forgotten the Graves takeout, you know, again, Graves is knocked down on 1 HP. It's now 10-all. So actually, this is really, really close. However, I've got a lot of people on reasonably high health pools, or you know, for the Navigators Guild anyway, towards their full health. So at the moment, Rob's just measuring out, is there any way he can get a goal? Or he can get a snapshot with Dirge? Can he get... Again, it requires a lot of favourable scatters from the ball. A lot of his players are already knocked down. It's a really difficult position for him. So in the end, Gast stands up after the kick-off. Windfinder counter-attacks after Gast hits. Gast knocks down Windfinder. Just as Rob is rolling these dice, he clocks. Not that it scores many points at this stage, but he manages to do 4 damage to Windfinder, and then Azimuth hits Graves for the takeout. So as you can see, it's 12-10, Navigators win.